Take a second and picture this. You reach into the fruit bowl, grab a banana, peel it, and eat it on your way out the door. The whole thing takes maybe 30 seconds. Most people never think about it again. But what if that simple, cheap, everyday fruit was doing more inside your body than you realize? What if it was quietly influencing three completely different systems at the same time? Your heart, your brain, and even the trillions of bacteria living in your gut? While I was researching this episode, I came across a finding that genuinely surprised me. I actually stopped and read one of the scientific papers twice to make sure I hadn't misunderstood it. Because bananas don't just contain useful nutrients. In at least one important case, they appear to provide both the raw material and the tool your body needs for a key biological process to happen. By the end of this video, you'll understand why researchers who study cardiovascular health, brain chemistry, and gut biology have all become interested in the exact same ordinary fruit. We're going to keep everything clear, simple, and firmly based on actual studies. No hype, no overpromising, just the evidence. Hello, I am Blue, along with Dr. Alex Hale. We explain everything clearly, simply, and completely based on real studies. Without any exaggeration, without big promises, and solely grounded in scientific evidence.
Let's get into it.
The heart story. Potassium is more important than most people think. You've probably heard that bananas contain potassium. That's true. A medium banana provides roughly 400 milligrams.
But simply saying bananas contain potassium doesn't explain why scientists care about it so much. The interesting part is what potassium actually does inside the body once you eat it.
Potassium helps regulate blood pressure. It supports a regular, steady heartbeat. It also helps your body handle and get rid of excess sodium, something most of us consume too much of from processed foods and restaurant meals. When potassium intake is higher, blood vessels tend to stay more relaxed and flexible instead of becoming tight and constricted. In 2011, researchers decided to look at this question on a very large scale. They combined data from 11 separate studies that together included more than 247,000 people. What they found was striking. People who had higher potassium intake showed a significantly lower risk of stroke, about 21% lower.
The heart story is solid and well supported. But for me, the biggest surprise wasn't happening in the cardiovascular system at all. It was happening inside the brain.
The brain story. The finding that made me reread the paper. To understand this next part, I want you to imagine something simple. Picture trying to build a car when you only have half the necessary parts. You might have a great engine, you might have the wheels, but without the missing components, the car isn't going anywhere. Something similar can happen with brain chemistry. Bananas contain an amino acid called tryptophan. Tryptophan matters because your body uses it as one of the essential building blocks to produce serotonin. Serotonin is a neurotransmitter involved in mood regulation, emotional stability, and healthy sleep. But here's the detail most people never hear. Simply having tryptophan available isn't enough. The conversion process requires another critical ingredient, vitamin B6, and bananas happen to contain both, the raw material and one of the key tools needed to use it. This was the part that really caught my attention. The same everyday fruit provides both pieces at once. Researchers studying vitamin B6 deficiency have found that inadequate levels can impair the brain's ability to produce important neurotransmitters, including serotonin and dopamine. A later review reinforced the same conclusion. Vitamin B6 plays an essential role in making serotonin, dopamine, and GABA, one of the brain's major calming neurotransmitters. In other words, your brain chemistry depends on having enough of this vitamin, and bananas offer a convenient, affordable, everyday source. Of course, we have to stay careful and precise here too. This does not mean bananas treat depression or that eating one will suddenly improve your mood. Mental health is enormously complex and influenced by many factors. But the biological pathway itself is real. It's well documented and has been observed repeatedly. It's one of the nicest examples in nutrition science of multiple nutrients working together rather than independently. Still, as interesting as the brain story turned out to be, it still wasn't the biggest surprise for me. That came from the gut, and it completely changes how we should think about banana ripeness. The gut story: why a green banana isn't really the same food as a ripe one. Here's a question worth thinking about. What if two bananas that look almost identical on the outside are actually processed by your body in completely different ways once you eat them? That's essentially what researchers have discovered, especially when it comes to ripeness. Slightly green, underripe bananas contain larger amounts of something called resistant starch.
The name sounds technical, but the idea is straightforward. Unlike regular starch, resistant starch isn't fully broken down and absorbed in the small intestine.
Instead, it travels deeper into the digestive tract to the colon, where it becomes food for certain beneficial gut bacteria. That makes it a prebiotic. When those bacteria consume the resistant starch, they produce compounds called short-chain fatty acids. Butyrate. Butyrate serves as a major fuel source for the cells lining your colon and plays an important role in supporting gut barrier health. In one randomized controlled trial, people with prediabetes and type 2 diabetes consumed green banana biomass over 24 weeks. They experienced improvements in several metabolic markers, including fasting blood glucose and body weight. And now comes the interesting twist. The less ripe the banana, the more resistant starch it contains. As the fruit ripens and turns from green to yellow to spotted, that resistant starch gradually converts into regular, easily digested sugars. This means a greener banana and a very ripe banana are not metabolically identical. They're surprisingly different in how your body handles them. An underripe banana raises blood sugar more slowly and gently. A ripe banana has more readily available sugars, which can be useful if you need quick energy. Neither version is inherently good or bad. They're simply different. If your main interest is supporting beneficial gut bacteria, greener bananas appear to offer more of that specific benefit. If your priority is taste, soft texture, and quick energy, a ripe banana still delivers potassium, fiber, vitamins, and the other compounds we've discussed. The microbiome story genuinely changes depending on the color and ripeness of the banana. And that's something most people have never heard. So what should you actually do? When we step back and look at the full picture from all the research, a clear practical pattern emerges. For cardiovascular health, bananas provide an easy, affordable source of potassium that fits naturally into a balanced diet. For brain chemistry, they contribute nutrients involved in important neurotransmitter pathways. For gut health, less ripe bananas supply resistant starch that may support beneficial bacteria. But there's another lesson running through this research that might be even more important. Researchers consistently emphasize that no single food creates dramatic health outcomes by itself. Comes from small advantages repeated consistently over time. The compound effect of many not bananas. Not blueberries. Not turmeric. Not any so-called superfood. Real health, usually modest, sustainable habits is what actually moves the needle.
The compound effect of many modest, sustainable habits is what actually moves the needle. And that's exactly where bananas become genuinely interesting from a practical standpoint. They're inexpensive. They're available almost everywhere. They travel well. And they're backed by a surprisingly large body of scientific research.
Not because they're magical, but because they're practical and deliver several evidence-based benefits at once. So here we have one completely ordinary fruit. Yet inside the body, three very different biological stories unfold when you eat it regularly. There's a potassium story connected to blood vessel flexibility and stroke risk patterns across large populations. There's a brain chemistry story involving tryptophan and vitamin B6 working together to support neurotransmitter production. And there's a gut microbiome story where the ripeness of the banana may meaningfully change how your body processes it. Honestly, when I started researching this episode, I expected the potassium and heart health angle. That's the part most people already know about bananas.
What I didn't expect was how strongly the microbiome benefit depends on ripeness. That was the finding I kept coming back to.
Now I want to hear from you. Which part surprised you the most? The heart and stroke risk connection?
The brain chemistry detail about tryptophan and vitamin B6 being together in the same fruit? or the fact that a greener banana may behave quite differently from a ripe one when it comes to your gut bacteria?
Drop your thoughts in the comments. If you like this style of video, taking everyday foods and looking at what the actual peer-reviewed science says about them without hype or overpromising, then please consider just as interesting subscribing and turning on notifications. We've got more topics coming that I think you'll find. Because sometimes the most fascinating biology isn't locked away inside an expensive supplement.
It's sitting quietly in a fruit bowl on your kitchen counter, looking completely ordinary, waiting for you to pick it up. Thanks so much for watching all the way to the end.